Welcome everyone. There's a couple different ways you could look at today's video. One is that I am unapologetically providing some hype and some promotion for the launch of AMD's new graphics cards, the Radeon RX 7900 XT and RX 7900 XTX, which are right here. I'm going to be unboxing both of these cards today to give you guys a bit of a first look, but I can't do much beyond that. I can't show you guys performance numbers. I can't even take the cards apart to show you the internals, but I'm going to do it anyway. And there's a couple reasons why. One is that I just built this system right here last week, and this system does have a graphics card it is destined to contain. It's not the 6900 XT, and it's actually not even the 7900 XT or XTX in their reference designs. I can't tell you what card's going to go in here yet, but I can pop one of these cards in to show you how it looks in a system that is, let's face it, ideally designed to house an all AMD build. The second reason is that I need to go about benchmarking the cards this week, so doing this video today is going to give me a little bit more time to handle that and bring you guys some quality content next week when the cards actually launch.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by G.Skill DDR5 memory. I've been using G.Skill RAM in PC builds and high-performance test systems for over a decade now, and they are constantly pushing out sleek new designs and faster kits with tighter timings. Give your build a colorful highlight with the Trident Z5 RGB line, or be assured of maximum compatibility with the XMP-enabled Ripjaws S5 series for Intel 12th and 13th gen CPUs, or the Expo-enabled Flare X5 line optimized for AMD's new AM5 platform. For more on G.Skill's DDR5 memory kits, click the sponsor link in the video description. All right, let's get right to it. Not a whole lot to be said. I don't know, do you guys want to see a closer look at the box? Here's the box. This is the AMD reference design for these cards, so these will be available in some capacity, and you can actually get them in these boxes. On the back, it's got a little bit more information about the cards itself. There's no UPC, look at that, because these are special cards that were sent before the thing actually launches. That's enough of a look at the box. I am going to cut this seal open. Look at that. As you can see, I have not opened these cards at all. This is the first time I am unboxing, and you can see as well. And I didn't go to the AMD event in Las Vegas, so I have never seen these cards in person before. Look at that. There's the RX 7900 XT. This one is going to MSRP for $900. 900 US dollars, which is a fair amount of money for a graphics card. And I've been thinking to myself a lot that the company that's done the best job at marketing the 7900 XT and XTX is probably NVIDIA with their $1,600 RTX 4090, making a $900 or $1,000 graphics card seem almost reasonable, depending on who you are and depending on your perspective. Since this is an unboxing, let's look at the box. It says, "Welcome to the Red Team, the new standard of high-performance gaming." Not too much going on behind that. These cards do not need 12VH power adapters in the box because they use 8-pin PCI Express graphics power connectors, which is a decision that AMD made very early on in the development process of these cards. Make no mistake, this was not a reaction or response to NVIDIA's use of the 12VH power connector. However, it has worked out pretty well for AMD because they can say the things that they've been saying. Look, it's a drop-in upgrade to your existing system. Look, you can take your existing power supply and plug them in. They haven't gone so far as to say, look, you can use this card and not worry about the connector actually melting, because that would of course be unprofessional, I suppose, of them. And to be fair, there have only been about 50 or so of those reported cases, but that is an issue that you should be aware of if you're considering an RTX 4090 or something like that, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the future. But back to the points. In the box, there's a little hidden spot. It's not really hidden. There's a little piece of foam there that you take out, and then you have a little bit of extra documentation. I never read this documentation or even look at it, but look, there's a QR code. You guys can use the QR code and see what website that leads you over to. It says join the conversation community.amd.com, so that's what that says. Not to get ahead of ourselves or anything, I'd like to look at both of these cards side by side. So here is the 7900, the RX 7900 XTX. They added an extra X onto it to make it more sexy. I don't know. I don't know why there's an XT and an X. I don't know why it's not the 7950 XT. Will there be a 7950 XT in the future that's faster than the 7900 XTX? I don't know. What? Okay, it's like an origami box, and as you lift the lid, the card's like, hey, here I am. Let me present myself to you. Look, this is why we do unboxing videos, right? It's to show you this hard-hitting information that the 7900 XTX box has a little lever that pops the card up, but the 7900 XT box does not. Obviously, that's worth at least an extra $100. I'm just like, okay. But there is the XTX in all of its glory. And so here's a weird thing. AMD has been sharing some slides and stuff with these cards, and the XT and the XTX looked different. Like one looked like it was darker than the others. And then they did a briefing for us a few days ago, and they said actually the cards should look pretty much the same, as I think they do, pretty much. They're not exactly the same. You see these two panels right here, this sort of cross piece across the top. This one is sort of a metal with a little bit of a reflection on it, and it has RGB lighting kind of tucked in behind it here, versus this one that has more of a matte finish, and then the Radeon logo actually right over there. So there are absolutely some subtle differences between the two cards in terms of the actual cooler design. You might also notice some size difference. So here's the XTX is the bigger one, that is on your left, and the XT is on your right. So this cooler is a little bit taller. So the XT measures just shy of 4 inches, or about 10 centimeters tall, and the XTX is about 1 centimeter taller, bringing it to about 4 1/4, 4 1/3 inches. Likewise, the XT is just a little bit shorter here, and measuring from the bracket, we're at pretty much 11 inches on the dot, or about 80 centimeters. Whereas the XTX brings it to about 11.5 or about 90 centimeters, which is, again, not that huge. I mean, we've been looking at massive 4-slot cards that are 12 inches plus long from the RTX 4090 and 4080. So these cards are fairly modest in size, which is a good thing, because a lot of people have been looking at their cases and been like, I can't upgrade to an RTX 4090 that I want because my case just isn't big enough to fit it. Likewise, for some cases that have popularized the vertical GPU mount like the Hyte Y60 over here, if your card gets too fat, 3 or 4 slots, suddenly it's right up against the tempered glass side panel or the side panel of your case, and suddenly you have no airflow to it. So it does cut down the usability of certain cases that are going to show off your card in a nice presentation way like this case does. Like I said in the intro, I can't share any performance numbers for these cards today, but I can at least remind you of their base specs as revealed by AMD last month. Both of these are based on AMD's RDNA 3 architecture and use the Navi 31 GPU die. The 7900 XT uses the slightly smaller version of that. These are also both MCM cards, or multi-chip module cards, which means there is a 5nm GCD or graphics controller die, and then there are multiple 6nm MCDs or memory controller dies, 6 of them for each of these cards. The 7900 XT features 84 compute units, 5,376 shading units, 84 ray accelerators, a game clock of 2,000 MHz and a boost clock up to 2,400 MHz, and 20 GB of GDDR6 memory running at 20 gigabits per second on a 320-bit bus. It also has 80 MB of infinity cache and memory bandwidth of 800 GB per second. The TDP on this card is 335 watts versus the 7900 XTX, which has a TDP of 355 watts. The XTX also has 96 compute units, 6,144 shading units, which is the full-fat version of the Navi 31 die, 96 ray accelerators, a game clock of 2,300 MHz and a boost clock going up to 2,500 MHz, 24 GB of GDDR6X memory, still running at 20 gigabits per second on a 384-bit bus, 96 MB of infinity cache, 960 GB per second of memory bandwidth, and again a 355 watt TDP. And that is pretty much all I'm able to share with you guys for this video, but there is one last thing that I mentioned in the intro, so you probably know what it is. Let's see how one of these cards looks in this build that I put together. Why not? So after looking at both cards, I've decided I'm gonna install both of them for you guys, because they do have slightly different LED configurations, and you might be interested how one looks and then the other. I was also reminding myself of a few things I didn't mention before, like these are triple fan cooled cards. I don't know if you guys realize that there are 3 fans on each card. Just thought I'd point that out. Also, the video outs on the back are slightly different than what we are accustomed to with some of the other cards that have launched recently. There's a single HDMI 2.1, which is the same thing that the NVIDIA graphics cards have right now. There are 2 DisplayPort 2.1s, and that's one of the big upgrades that it has versus the NVIDIA cards. Is DisplayPort 2.1 can go up to like 4K at 480 Hertz. It can support some pretty insane resolutions and refresh rates. And then they've also included a USB Type-C, which incidentally, they also had on the 6900 XT reference model, and that is to support VR, even though VR hasn't really taken off in a mainstream sort of way. AMD did say that they wanted to continue to support it, and that Type-C connector, you can use a DisplayPort adapter with it, so you can still use it as a regular video out if you want to. Just a little bit easier to connect up a VR headset that uses Type-C. All right, so just dropping in the 7900 XT first. Plugging back in the two 8-pin standard PCI Express graphics power connectors. I will admit, is easier to do right now than to have to bust out some adapter or something, so that's cool. So there is the card nicely installed. Oh, the other thing I didn't really point out, this little accent here, which reminds me kind of a BMW, but I like it. I like those little 3 red marks there. I feel like it's a nice little color accent, but here we go. Let's power it on. Of course, my default RGB LEDs on these Lienli fans aren't gonna blend in very well at first, but give it just a second to boot up into Windows so the software control can take control, and then everything should light up. So funny story, I've been under the impression that the 7900 XT has built-in lights, and it doesn't. Actually, this card does not light up, which is fine. Cards don't need to light up. It kind of looks like it would. I probably would have been aware of this if I had gone to the actual event in Las Vegas, but it's okay. We still got it installed, gave you guys a quick look, and I would say it looks pretty clean and snazzy in this build, of course. Not quite as blingy without the lights, but that's okay. For a lot of people, no lights is actually a good thing. For the purposes of making a video though, having a little light in there I think will look good. So let's go ahead and pop in the RX 7900 XTX, which has an extra X and extra LED lights, or LED lights. That's fine, just leave it there. I just realized I said LED lights, and that's redundant, so please ignore me there. Plugging in our 8-pin PCI Express power connectors. Voila. And again, it is nice that these cards are not full triple slot cards or even beyond triple slot cards. It is 2+, it's more than 2 cards, but as you can see, there's still plenty of space there for a 3rd slot, which provides a little bit more airflow ventilation in this case. Let's try the power switch now. Hey look, lights. Again, we'll give it just a moment to boot up and turn on the LED sync and everything. And as predicted, because I totally confirmed with AMD first, the 7900 XTX does have RGB LEDs. Right now they're defaulted to white, but they are RGB, so you can adjust that if you so desire. And you basically get 2 LED accents going above and below that center fan, which looks pretty clean, lights up, and shows that you paid $100 more for an XTX card. The XTX, of course, has better stats. It's gonna have better performance. I can't tell you how much better that performance is, but I believe at this point, confirm that I will be testing these cards, doing a review, and sharing that information with you. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, definitely hit that subscribe button because I have that video coming out. I have a live stream going up this weekend on Saturday, a charity event with my good friend Kyle. Will be streaming at 10 a.m. Pacific time for about 8 hours or so to raise money for Children's Miracle Network Hospital. So if you can join us there, definitely do so. I'm gonna be giving away this system as well as another system as well as a graphics card. I think Kyle has some system giveaways too. And as mentioned, the card that's going to be given away with this system isn't even the cards that I'm showing you here. Still another mystery yet to be revealed next week. Of course, I should also say that if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button and let me know on your way out. And if you have any comments about the look of these cards, how they look in this build, further feedback on this build, which I have yet to do a follow-up part 2 video on, leave those in the comment section down below. And you can also check out my store at paulshardware.net, where I have a end of the year holiday sale going on right now on all of my merchandise. So check it out, get yourself some merch. It's a great way to help support my channel. Thanks again for watching this video, you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.